Hey, what's up? Welcome back. In this episode, you'll learn about messaging. We're going to set up two-way messaging between a guest and a host. As a reminder, we're rebuilding a short-term vacation rental marketplace. This is part 21 of the series. If you haven't seen the other videos, head back and take a look. We're using Ruby on Rails, and we have this concept of a reservation, which is a booking of a property from a guest to a host. But what we want to do now is add some messaging so that like the guest can ask the host questions and the host can respond. And so, yeah, that's what we're going to do today. Let's jump in here. We're going to start with generating a new model called a message. And this is going to be something that is related to probably to a guest and a host, but it might be between two other users. I don't know. So we're going to say from user. And that's going to be a foreign key. We're also going to say to user, and that's going to be a foreign key. References, and we're going to have an optional association to a reservation. References, and finally, we'll just have some content, the message content, and this will just be plain text for now. We're going to keep it super simple. Later on, we might add, I don't know, markdown or some sort of simple formatting. So let's take a look at this migration. Now there's a couple things we need to change. So from user, there is no class or there's no table in the database called like the from users table or something. So what we need to do is instead of just saying foreign key true, we need to say to table is users. Same with to user, right? Because we want the association or we want the foreign key from user to be to the user ID table on the ID table on the users. ID column on the users table. All right, and then finally for reservation, we want that to be nullable. So we're gonna make that nullable. The string content, we should probably not make nullable, and we'll default to empty string or whatever. Timestamps, we have timestamps. I don't know, like maybe we want like a red at thing. We could figure that out down the road, but for now, we're just gonna keep it simple and go with this model for messages. So we'll say Rails db migrate. That's going to create our table in the database. Let's also create a controller. So Rails G controller messages, and we're going to need an index page, and that's probably it. We're going to start really simple. So in the messages, so let's start by going to the reservation show page. And on the reservation show page, we want some way to link to the messages for a reservation. So we're going to say the messages path, and we're going to pass in the reservation ID so that we know which reservation we're messaging about. But I don't know, in practice, we might want to be able to support messaging again between two users. But for now, we'll just make it pretty dependent on a reservation. Also, before we go too far, let's go back to that message model and make sure that we have this all the associations set up. We actually don't need the foreign key here because, this is good to talk about. So the foreign key, right? We would need to specify the foreign key if the actual column in the database was not the same as the association name with underscore ID at the end. So because it is, we don't actually need that. But when we go over to the user model, like on the other side of the association, we need to come in here and we want to actually add two different associations to a message. So a user is going to have some messages that they sent. They're also going to have messages they received. So here we're going to say has many like sent messages. And because sent messages is not the class name, we need to specify the class name and the foreign key, et cetera, et cetera. In this case, the foreign key for sent messages is going to be the from underscore user underscore ID. So from user ID. Same thing for received messages. And this is going to be the to user ID. Okay. I think that's a good start. I think we also want to mark this one as optional, but that's a good start for now. Okay, let's talk about our, let's just go to the messages index and I guess we can start with just a form here. Form that's going to make a post request to /messages. I don't know. That's like way longer. I don't know, like if, yeah, this is like totally fine to hard code the path. It's smaller, it's like whatever. And yeah, we'll just use what they say. Form, thank you GitHub Copilot. I don't know. We don't need, oh gosh, that @CSRF thing is from, it's from Django. Name is authenticity token, and then the value. Okay, so it's like, why are you writing HTML directly inside of ERB? Because I think a lot of people use the form helpers. I don't use form helpers. Yeah, I think the reason that I don't use form helpers, so like in Ruby, you can say like form for message, like at message or something, and do F, and then you can like use, you can use this form helper to print out like labels and inputs. But I don't use this form for because I want full control over my HTML, and also because it makes it easier to convert if you want to switch to a front-end framework later. So if we say, oh, we actually want to like replace all of our front end here with a React app, and we want to just swap all our backend to be rendering JSON so that it's easy to, I don't know, prototype faster or whatever, we already have the HTML, and it just makes it a little bit easier to swap over. I don't know, content, and then we'll just say this is the message. And we actually don't want this to be a text input. We want this to be a text area. And let's see. So the name is actually going to be message content. And then we also want to have a hidden input for the reservation ID. So this is going to be the messages reservation ID. And recall that we just included that in the query string. So we're going to say the value is @reservation.id. And if we come over here, I don't think we have any message, or like, yeah, there is no route because we don't have that in our routes file. So we need to go to our routes file, and we need to add messages here. So resources, messages, only index and create, I guess. Let's see. Okay, and now it's saying that the ID for this @reservation instance variable is nil. That's because we didn't actually specify that in the messages controller. So @reservation is, so what we could do is just say reservation.find params message reservation ID, if we had one in the query string. Params, what? Params, oh, right, params, oh, params, here, this should just be params reservation ID like this. Okay, but we don't want someone to be able to message about a reservation that they are not a part of. So this means, like, if we did it like this, then any user could message about any other reservation. They could just come up here and type in 1, or I don't know, what, 49. They could type in any reservation ID and start talking about someone else's reservation. We don't want to do that. And so what we want to do instead is we want to make sure that we're scoping the reservations that they're allowed to talk about, and only letting them sort of view this page if they, yeah, have access to that reservation because they're either the guest or they are the host. So this is going to be a little bit more fun sort of active record stuff, because if you recall, the reservation has the guest ID, but it does not have the host ID. It has the guest ID and it has the listing ID, and through the listing we know the host. But it's not as simple as doing something like reservation dot where, like, you know, user is current user or something like that, dot find. And like usually what we might do is something like current user dot reservations dot find, right? And that would give us back all of the reservations for the current user. But if we look at the user model right now, the user model has both reservations and host reservations. And at this point, what we actually want is the combination of both of them. And we want to do the combination of both of them in a way that doesn't require like too much pain. And so what I think we might want to do is add another method on the user model that will return the combination of these two associations. And what I think we can do is just make a method down here, self dot, or yeah, we can just call it like all reservations. And what this will do is we also don't want to just say reservations plus host reservations, because I don't think this is going to work, because there is no method ID on reservation. All reservations dot find. Okay, so let's look at what happens here. So u is user dot first, u dot reservations is some list of reservations. U dot reservations dot count is 12, but u dot reservations dot class is an active record association collection proxy thing. So we're getting back some sort of like active record collection type object that comes back. And then if we do host reservations dot class, similarly, we're getting back a collection proxy. But if we do the concatenation of the two, u plus reservations, we get back an array, I believe. So if we say like dot class, we get back an array object. An array is not an active record collection, and that means that we don't have an easy like collection query method that's going to go in and query the database with that ID. So what we want to do instead is we actually want to say something like reservation.where the guest is self. Okay, that's going to give us all of the reservations on the guest side. So that is basically just like self.reservations. And then what we can do is say like .or reservation.where listing is in listings. And I think this should give us all the reservations. So if we go again, reload and say u.reservations.count and u.hostreservations.count. So we have 12 and 15. And then if we say u.allReservations, method missing, is it not called that? All reservations, reload, u is user.first. Dot count, we get back 15. I think, let's see. Okay, so guest.example.com should have 4 reservations. So if we find user.last is guest.example.com, u.allreservations.count. 4. Okay, great. So if we look at the query here, select count star from reservations where the reservation guest ID is the ID of the guest, or reservations.listing ID is in the subquery, select listing.id from listings where the host ID is 2. So this gives us all of the reservations. So now what we want to do is go back to our messages controller and say, yeah, that should actually work now. So if we go to, I don't know, for instance, this message or this booking and go to messages, now this should only work for the reservations that we're a part of. So if we go to like, I don't know, reservation 33, that should return like a 404, right? If there is reservation 33. So reservation.find 33. Nope. Reservation.find 34. 39. Okay, 39. They're not related. Okay, so reservation 39 definitely exists, but this guest or this user is not part of that reservation, so they're not able to see it. In production, they would see a 404 page here, which is what we want to see. They are part of reservation 50. Okay, whatever. Let's try sending a message. So if we click send, there is no create method inside the messages controller. So we're going to say, def create. And what we want to do is we want to create a new message. So at message is equal to current user.sent messages.new message params. And message params is going to be something like this, params.require message.permit. We're going to permit the content and the reservation ID. Okay, so now what we want to say is the messages to user. So the person that we're sending it to is going to be the person that is the opposite person on the reservation. So if we're sending from the guest, this should be the host. If we're sending from the host, this should be the guest. So we actually need the reservation. So we're going to find the reservation again. And this is now going to be through message params. And when we find the reservation, we're going to say at reservation dot, if the guest is equal to the current user, then we're going to use the host. Otherwise, we're going to use the guest. And then we're going to say, if we can't save the message, we'll print some errors. Otherwise, we will redirect to the messages path for reservation ID, reservation.id. All right, let's see if that worked. Okay, so I think that might have actually gone through message.last. Okay, there is one message. There's the content. It's for reservation 50. There's the from user, to user. Cool. Now in practice, in our messages controller or our message, in our message model, we should have a validation here that's like the from user is on the reservation and the to user is on the reservation, but whatever. We'll just save that validation as an exercise for the reader. Okay, so messages, controller, inside of the index, we also want some list of messages. So at messages is reservation.messages. Does that association exist? No. So reservation has many messages. And now that we have that, we can go back to our messages index and add that list to the top here. All right, so we're going to just iterate over messages.each do message. I feel like GitHub Copilot is like drunk this morning or something. It's like it thinks we're writing PHP or something else. All right, so now we can see the messages that were sent. So here's another message from whoever, I don't know. So we see test, we see another message from. Let's see if we can find a Tailwind UI component that will make this look pretty. There is some set of lists somewhere. So let's see if we can find some, or feeds, maybe a feed. Oh, this is cool. All right, yeah, let's do this. We'll copy the HTML and then let's just drop it in here. And what is this going to look like? Well, we will drop in, so for each message, that's what we want to do, is that first LI, I think. And then I think we can just delete the rest of this down to here and see what that looks like. So if we refresh, okay, cool. So I don't know who Eduardo is, but we should probably make that like the guest's name or email or something. So Eduardo, this is going to be like message dot from user dot email. So this is the user that sent the email and then commented, or maybe let's call this like sent. And then, oh, there's a really cool thing we can do in Rails to get this. So time ago in words is a helper method, and we can pass in a date time. So if we pass in, I don't know, message.created at, that should give us like when it was created. Yeah, so sent 3 minutes ago. That's so cool. And then the content here will just be the message.content. And we can't actually trust that the user is not going to put in some like, I don't know, script source is like my evil script or something. So like cross-site script forgery, right? What if they're going to try to do something fancy like this? Well, it's fine because we're not actually going to like render out that stuff. We definitely want to avoid the double equals though, because then it does inject it. But yeah, this is fine. I don't know, little miniature security lesson. I don't like how this looks. The form looks funky, and we have like this extra line here. I don't know where this line comes from, but Let's see if we can figure out what the deal is with this. So if we inspect this, how do we get this line to go away, and how do we have our message sort of, or our text area show up below? I think, yeah, there's a text area thing. So let's let's copy this puppy. All right, and we'll come down here and make this our text area. Gosh, isn't Tailwind the best? Add your message. And then the name is just going to be message content, and that should be fine. And if we refresh our page, okay, so now we have this giant input box and a send button. Yeah, sure. But again, we have like this line that's sort of showing over the top of our stuff. So why is that? Where is that coming from? Oh, span, absolute, blah, blah, blah. So there's some span that's in the last li. We want to remove this span, I think. But we don't want to lose it on all of the other ones. So how do we want to do that? Well, one way we could do this is say like, we can do each with index, or something. I can't remember if the index is first or last, but let's see. If like I is equal to at messages.length -1, then, or like if it's less than messages.length, then show it. Explicitly less than. There we go. Okay, so now sort of our line sort of stops before our form starts. That's nice. I like that. And it looks pretty clean. The other thing is that we want some space between our form and this thing. So where we see add your message. Yeah, our form here needs a little bit of breathing room. So let's give it that. Class like margin top is 6 or something. I don't know. All right, that's pretty good. Our send button needs to be improved. I don't know, like whatever. We haven't really styled a ton of this stuff, but this should all just work. Okay, so now we can send messages from the guest, but let's log in as the host of this reservation and see if we can get this working. So this is from wave plus guest at cjab.dev. Okay, when the guest or when the host logs in, I think this is the one. No, maybe this is the one. I don't know. Let's see. Messages. It was actually like reservation 50. Okay, it's not. Okay. Reservation 50 was not for that host. Let's log in again as wave at cjab. All right, if we look at the reservations, the most recent reservation, actually, we're just going to like messages, reservation ID 50. So we see the guest is talking to us. They're trying to contact us. Hello there. Welcome to the property. Enjoy your stay. Something, 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 right? This is the message from the host. So now we see the message coming in from the host. Cool. Now we have sort of two-way messaging, but it's awful because in order to see what messages came up, two things have to happen. Number one, they have to log in to the application and like go to the messages page. And two, they have to keep refreshing the page. Also, this is a little funky, so let's give that some space too. Class is like text to Excel and I don't know, like margin bottom 6. I don't know. Let's see. All right, that's looking good. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is when a message is sent, let's use that noticed gem to actually like send the message as an email. So let's go over to our message model and we're going to add an after create commit. After create commit, we're going to say notify the to user. And this is going to be like some notification thing. So we'll say Rails G noticed notification. message, or like new message. Okay. New message is going to be this new type of notification, message mailer, and it's going to require the message. Okay. Rails, let's see. So in order to get that working, Rails G mailer message mailer, and we're going to say like new message, and we'll open that up. And we're going to have the message here from params message, and our to is going to be the at message.toUser.email. Subject is going to be a new message from user.email. We have the name on the user model, but we're not using it anywhere, so whatever. So new message.html. So we're going to say like new message, and then we'll just print the message here. Okay. And is that all we need? I don't know. New message, like notification. I don't remember. I don't know if we need to like actually say new message here or not, if there's only one method on the mailer, but let's just test this out and see what happens. All right, so testing notification. Let's see. Nothing happened. Huh. Oh, you know what? We didn't actually wire it up. So in the message object, yeah, so notify user, this needs to be like new message dot with like message is self dot deliver later to the to user. All right, let's try this again. Testing notification again. Boom, we have a new message. Okay, so, and it was sent to the guest. Fantastic. Okay, so we've got messaging sort of like, at least it's sending the message to the guest when they are receiving, a message about a a reservation. Let's log back out, log back in as the guest, just to make sure that it works. Totally should work. Nothing is different at this point between the guest and the host in terms of like the message sending. Hey host, did you get this one? And we say send. Hey, new message. Hey host, did you get this one? Cool, super cool. All right, so yeah, we have sort of two-way messaging working. I guess in the next episode, we might want to make it so that if someone is on this page, they are able to see the new messages pop up. So we'll have to use a little bit of turbo and some fun stuff like that. But yeah, just looking at our plan here, we've got two-way messaging. We don't really have canned responses or scheduled or translations, but we're making our way through all of the content here. I think another fun one would be to, I guess this is also checked. Another one would be to have, when you receive an email, to be able to respond to that email and have that show up in the messages. So maybe we can use the action mailer or action mailbox stuff for that. I also really want to play with the Twilio API. So text messaging the host when they receive a booking instead of just emailing. Yeah, when they get a booking or when they receive a message, that would be great. And yeah, I think otherwise we're looking pretty good. So we probably want some way to have a guest like leave a review when they're done, or I don't know, but we're definitely getting closer to having a pretty complete application here. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.